Are you ready for a poetry slam? I'm going to start off reiterating what happened earlier today within that hour, because you probably might have missed it. No, I'm kidding. You didn't miss it, but I want to reinforce it, though. Tonight, we have some of the most inspiring and amazing change makers I have ever had the witness of hearing on our stage tonight, sharing truth and power and love and all these great things, and sometimes some hate and salt and whatever too, whatever, fine, okay. But thank you. But that might make you feel some things. And so if you do need support, please talk to an active listener, talk to someone, and keep this dialogue going, okay? This is a space of consent and all the good things. Art's not safe, but we're gonna try to take care of each other, right? So I got 2 agreements for us to make, okay? I like to always ask for agreements. So audience, tonight, are we gonna love on our artists? Are we gonna love on our artists? Artists, will you take care of these lovely humans tonight? Will you give them a feast of words? You're gonna feed us and get us nice and full and around, you know? Okay, good, thank you, RC.
All right, that's it. We're gonna get going. We've got a poetry slam to do. Thing for poets to note, if you want, you can use that music stand over there, and you can use that chair on the stage over there if you feel the need to. Those are there for you in whatever capacity you would like to use. There are rules. We're assuming you know the rules. If you don't, that's okay. The poets all know the rules. There is a 3-minute and 20-second time limit. Giving a little extra time for the poets because it's finals. You're going to be a loud, boisterous audience. And we've got judges, 5 sets of judges throughout the room, some of them individuals, some of them teams. They will be scoring the performances after the poets are finished. You are encouraged to try to sway the judges, but in your enthusiasm, remember you're just trying to change the scores. They are not to be personal attacks towards the judges. They're here to have fun too. So it's all a great community thing together, so enjoy each other. As far as the time limit goes, if anybody goes over time, I'm going to give some Avengers Endgame spoilers. So I promise. So poets.
Where's Angelica?
And I will. So everybody keep on track. Good?
Should we go?
All right, and this will be the mic you use. We're getting rid of this one. So poets, this is your mic. Notice it is a little noisy if you touch it, so be careful when you do it during your performance.
Okay.
All right, so yes, we've got 12 poets in the first round. Spin, Apollo the Child, Daniella Mercedez, ecoaborijanelle, Asaya, Marz, Nisha, K, Liana, Fauzia, Q, and Deirdre. That is your order in the first round.
Who was here's first time to a poetry slam? This is a room of truth. I think some of y'all lying, okay? But in case you aren't lying, just so you know what's happening tonight, it is the Canadian Individual Poetry Slam Finals. We are gonna find the champion who's supposed to, like, the valedictorian, really. The valedictorian representing all Canada poets, yeah? And it's a big deal, so that's why we chose 5 random judges. It's fantastic. Just so you know, never met these people before. So let's just go in, yeah?
All right, and we kick it off with a sacrificial poet to give you a chance, the judges, to hand out scores, and you to yell blood, plasma, platelets, bone marrow, whatever you like. So Spin, you are on deck. Please welcome your sacrificial poet, Kiran the Muse, all the way to the stage, your first poet in the competition. Keep it going until they're on the mic. This mic is hot. Here we go.
I love myself too. And I can say things because I'm not afraid of violating this time. Whoa! And I don't care about Endgame. I was supple, pulling myself through the jungle of this life with ease, careless of what I look like, wild in a mango tree. Oh, how you exoticize that look, me naked licking nectar off my fair fingers from fruits you pretend you remember. Oh, how you eroticize me like the anthropologist photographs women in your grandfather's village, supple breasts swaying, poking through bright Saudi blouses, dark eyes angled and averted, you wooed as if they were inviting you with a quiet modesty. See, narcissists, you couldn't see their aversion was a protest. See, if I let you look into my eyes, you would be mesmerized by your own reflection. Swimming in the sweet tamarind whirls of my iris, you would starve at the banks of my lash line, broken daffodils collecting in my tear ducts, weeping for your own self, because you were never seeing me anyways. The bangles on my fair arms clinked together like the shackles of your fickle promise. Skin you caressed because the hue was closer to that of the white women you could never truly bring home. Shaming your own mother's skin as if it could be stripped and bleached. A weeping white linen drying in the Bombay heat. Proudly donning your starched lungi as if wrapping yourself in the skins of whiteness could bring you closer to dignity. You wanted what we all sought, a consolidated self, two worlds morphed into one happy place, all the rights and freedoms of the West and the privileges of a boy pampered by the heat of the East, of planets you could fly to and fuck, colonize and extract resources like the white men you mimic, seeing tea and tobacco sprout from my follicle, spices rise like heat from my skin, gold and jewels glittering through my eyes, your ships crashing upon my shores, driving so deep, mining my Kohinoor. And when you do apologize, dipping curry sauce and sipping tea, my Kohinoor locked deep in your vaults of acquisition, you will convince us that you were reorienting me, cutting away my tongue and spurring animosity in myself, as if myself was the white man's burden, as if my womanhood was my brown dad's burden. You wanted the cultured brown girl, the soft poet, the loving daughter. I am all, and I am an unyielding voice, and I am a curious child, and I dare you to look me in the eye, for I am a woman in protest.
Give it up for Kiran! You may not care about the Avengers, but these people do. And you just fucking ruined it. Because you know what? Here's spoiler number fucking 1. Are you ready for it? Captain Marvel gets a haircut. Fuck you. You. That was all the time you'll get, judges. Thank you so much. 3, 2, 1, up with your scores. I'm all the fruit, honey. I see 4 scores. I need 1 more. Judges, really, you have 1 job to do. Where's the 5th? Thank you very much. Okay. So we've got a 7.6, an 8.5, a 9.5, 8.0, and a 9.4. Give it up for the poetry! All righty, all right. Apollo Child, you're on deck right now. Give it up for Spin!
Canadians go camping to pass the time in the summer, but refugees are biding their time in camps through the summer, and those tents have a very different meaning when what's left of your life has become so demeaning that all of your possessions can be stored within. An orphan from Mogadishu seeking refuge in Yemen goes through hell and the Gulf of Aden to get in. No free Canadian healthcare waiting on him, and those camps are no fun in the summer. Much less in the desert after your village was plundered and lightning and thunder are the least of your worries. Meanwhile, Canada plays the role of the benevolent country. She might even welcome you in if she approves of your story, unless, of course, you apply at the visa office in Nairobi. Then, it might take you a decade to get in, and when you do, you'll have to pay back the cost of your flight. That's right. That Somali orphan in Yemen will land in Canada with a $5,000 debt in plain sight. It's called the Canada Transportation Loans, right? But it's all right, because at least we got a great education. Well, except what they give to indigenous peoples on reservations. They receive $2,000 to $3,000 less in funding per child than the children attending the white schools nearby. The original peoples of this land that we're on are subjected to similar or worse conditions than those of the lands that we're from. Guatemala, Somalia, Palestine, or Iraq. And I once heard an 11-year-old child from Adawapiskat tell the world that he suffers from heart problems and eczema. He studies in an unheated portable and he's never seen a real school in his life. The temperatures get to minus 40 degrees freezing the pipes. These babies study with sewage fumes and carbon dioxide. How the fuck do members of parliament sleep at night? Adawapiskat, indigenous territory in Northern Ontario, here in Canada. The country that welcomes the refugees, the same country that causes the refugees, with its mining companies and foreign policies, blindly condoning Palestinian oppression, supporting Israeli army atrocities. Barrick Gold invades Guatemala, displaces thousands internally. We suffer the trauma and watch our gold flow to the company. Oh, Canada, land of opportunity, nation filled with irony, future of uncertainty for those in need of harmony. Your very own soldiers from the Airborne Division violated and tortured Somalis, and many of them are now a part of my family, and tragically, some suffer the same violence here that they try to escape over there. Abdi Karim, Allahu Naharisto. Abdi Nasir Diri, Allahu Naharisto. 2 young men taken before their time. 2 young men taken before their prime. Their parents orphaned an ocean away from their country and still afflicted by gunshots after all of this time. Oh, Canada, that Bill C-51 that you passed was a crime. Designating refugees for border detention, including the child for border protection. Please, Canada, knock this racist bill off the radar. Own your own inequities. The need for humanity is greater than the power you gave to these border service agency haters who hate us from Chiapas to Akwesasne, Gaza Strip to Soweto. This whole world is a ghetto, and we would not have been refugees if you colonizers didn't meddle with our internal affairs. All we ever wanted was justice, and we never crossed the borders. The borders crossed us.
There's your first poet. There's your first poet. Spin. Judges, up with your scores for your first poet, please. Let's see your scores. 3, 2, 1. We have 4. Where's the 5th? We have 4 scores. Where's the 5th one? There we go. Thank you. We have a 9.5. We have a 7.5. We have a 9.2. We have a 9.3. And we have another 9.5. Applaud your poet, not the silly scores. Daniella Mercedez is on deck, but right now, welcome Apollo the Child. All the way to the stage, your next poet.
I heard God sigh. She exhaled the last remaining air in her lungs, and she did it the same time you did. I resent you. We used to joke about being immortals. We used to joke about being Highlanders only with colored skin. Only I believed you. Only I find out miles away from home. Only it's the first I hear of your name in 3 years. Only I lie with a painted smile and say I'm fine. So you can't see pain through this coat of paint. Now you can't see pain through my coat of paint. And I read an article that proves that Superman should be black. I tell people he was. I tell people of you. I speak of your name. I speak of Dovey Henry. I speak of the being a pure flame, and I know of how Johnny stormed, but I also knew that he was a fantastic force. So I speak of the being a pure flame and of the days when we used to sit and write until our skulls and skies lit on fire. I gave you the name of Johnny Blaze. I gave you the name of Johnny Blaze, and Johnny was a good Superman, and it figures. It'd only take a body of water to put out your body of flame, and I'm sorry it went down that way. You deserve better. You deserve better than having your body being found in the river. I'm sorry it took me this long to speak of you. I'm just so tired of writing these eulogies. I spent days and days staring at an empty page, writing cliche after cliche, when the pen should have bled and gave lots of ink in honor of your name. We met in the 12th grade. We were polar opposites and yet the same. We used to plot a lot and talk about how we would take over this game. We promised we would be spoken word. We promised we would build a community using words. As young bucks, we promised we would be the future. Now I'm doing all that we talked about, all that we planned for, all that you gave me confidence for. The one skinny, quiet, former Afro samurai is now leader of the show we started slamming at. I say that with pride. I took my art nationally. I say that with pride. You were my friend, and I say that with pride. And I'm too tired to cry, but I know you wouldn't want these tears anyways. We used to talk about death and what it means to be alive. It's when you told me you wanted an all-color funeral. I'm sorry I couldn't make that happen. Shit, I'm sorry I couldn't even make it. But what I can do is promise in honor of you that when it's my time to finally expire, I'll make sure that mine is vibrant. Vancouver, you are my witness. Make sure it's an all-color funeral. And I don't condone necromancy. I just wish I could bring back Dovey Henry. I wish I could go back in time to when we realized we were both beings with big smiles and we would try to outgreen each other. And the laughing fits that ensued. I forgive you for arbitrary things like thinking Teen Titans Go was a good show. I forgive you for all the times you would aggravate me to the point of silence. So how could I not forgive you for not being immortal? We were just two comic heads. We were just two lovers of life and sci-fi. We were like brothers. And I promise I will heed what you used to teach. I will live in the now. You were a king, and your dreadlocks were your crown. I hope you hear this poem up in heaven. I hope your mannerisms haven't changed. And I hope you still claim that you eat your toast upside down. انتم متوا قبلنا واحنا نموت وراكم. انتم متوا قبلنا واحنا نموت وراكم. الله يرحمك.
Give it up for Paul the Child. Judges, I hope you eat your toast with lots of butter. On that note, scores. 3, 2, 1, up with those scores. We've got a 9.4, an 8.5, a 9.3, an 8.0, and a 9.2. Give it up for the poetry. All right. Eco-Aboriginal, you're on tempo right now. Give it up for Daniella Mercedez. All the way to the stage.
My grandparents swallow English the way that some people swallow the Bible. It is cutthroat as it goes down, and it does not fit in one's teeth. It is heavy as a church on a sunken, stolen city, and it does not forgive, nor leave room for misinterpretations, for improperly placed verbs, subject before predicate, improper clauses chained together without conjunctions, pronounced silent vowels, and pronounced silence. My mother told me that when the Spanish came to Mexico, they picked the tops of the pyramids off so that they could build the cathedral in La Plaza in Mexico City, smashed the tomb of the god of war, robbed in the name of something holier, a symbol of Spanish conquest, a symbol of success. Spanish is the only language that place would know, and it is swallowed daily con el Señor, ahora y en la hora de nuestra muerte. Amen. The church is sinking. The marshland that the Spanish built it on is doing what marshes do best. It is swallowing the city whole, engulfing it slowly into its silt and clay. It swallowed my mother's father, drowned him in alcohol, devoured his compassion in a city fueled by greed in the name of success. He was my only tie to that place, says to me, "Mija, you will have to learn Spanish if you want to come back here." And I haven't seen him since. My father's parents came to Canada as refugees. I found their immigration papers, a carefully folded pink piece of transfer paper, the funds transferred to Canada section marked NA. They didn't know a lick of English, how it fits in the back of their throat, how it is itchy and uncomfortable, and it is almost impossible to be broken in. Sometimes English feels like a cheap pair of shoes. Sometimes English feels like betrayal, feels like the stale bread and orange peels my grandfather was fed as a prisoner of war, and he tells me that I will learn Spanish when I'm ready. I ask him if he can speak Mapuche. He tells me no. Tells me that he doesn't believe in God, hangs my grandmother's crucifix above La Puerta like an English guillotine that will sever the Spanish from our tongues every day when we leave the house, swallows the daily tea-light candle lit above San Judas de Tadeo shrine my grandmother sets up because her mother was never a very good cook, but they never went hungry, learned to survive on awkward prayers that didn't translate well, swallowed El Padre y El Cielo whole, tells me that she doesn't even believe it anymore, chokes herself on the golden cross tied around her neck. My grandmother swallowed English, but neither that nor Catholicism seem to sit well with her. Her stomach churns daily, but refugees refuse to go hungry. And we will eat what we are given, even if it tastes like the blood of the people who did not make it out of our country alive. Even if it tastes like the cheap Catholic wine, and maybe one day we will spit it in the face of the white man who tried to serve it to us.
Daniella Mercedez. Judges, you're doing a lovely job so far. Let's see you continue on. Stick to your guns, stick to your opinions. Don't let the crowd sway you. 3, 2, 1, up with your scores, please. Let me see your scores. We have 5. Here we go. We've got a 9.5. Could you show me that a little clearer, please? We have an 8.5. We have a 9.6, an 8.9, and a 9.5. Again, applaud your poet, please. Asaya, you're on deck, but right now, please welcome to the stage, ecoaborijanelle. All the way, here we go, our next poet.
I'd like to do my territory acknowledgement. Gagawi Nawaski Nisigasun, Banaiko Sisniauche. I'm Janelle Puopskonius. I come from Little Pine First Nation in Treaty 6 territory. Thank you for letting me on your land. Gagawi Nawaski Nisigasun. Sagitu win a guamispun. Waskitu se otinia. Should I put it in English so it's easy for you? No. Negoses a guanahia win. Ginanan nescumtanin. It means I'm thankful and grateful for my son and my life and my language still here. And I'm clawing to remember and to hold it so dear. Iskoteo, it means fire, it's my woman's heart. It is the most sacred and profound, significant part of me that exists raising fists while raising kids. And I live part of many worlds, never feeling part of one. So yeah, I better run. Back to where I come from. Back where my blood was spilled. Where we fucked up Colonel Otter on Palmaker Hill. Should I chill? Is that too offensive? Or is it them feeling guilty and going on the defensive because me? I'm just telling my truth. I never had this voice and strength until my older youth, but I suppose that's just how it goes in this system until I chose and arose. Now my spirit persists and exists in a space and time where the people want my culture, but not the people like mine. And the chiefs will sell it to them to fund our own oppression. It is no wonder the babies are slowly dying of depression. It's been my obsession now to question. And what right is their right to keep removing rights from we who have had our rights stolen? See, I'm constantly searching for truth in this bastard of a lie we call a Canadian history. Unlearned patriarchy, that shit makes no sense to me, 'cause it's erasure. From this space and this time, it's like we never existed except in the storybooks and their rhymes with their pictures painting the legs wild, open, and ready to get fucked by the hammer of colonialism. Is that too heavy? No, because raped is more like it. They won't stop at just the women. Ending the Indian problem has been easy. You took our children. And I don't mean the past. I even mean the present with things like Gunaway, Mago, Mankantik, that child and family service system shit makes me sick. Now let's try to understand that 1, medicated cycles will make the painless, but not painless. 2, we've been put in places and we are still displaced. 3, paint on my face in a crowd and I am still faceless. 4, funding cutbacks. 5, 2019, we still face Nazi racists. But what options do we have now except suicide or existence and resistance? And persistence and existence and resistance and persistence, for instance. Gagawi na waskina siga sun. Manaiko sise kwa Saskatoon tinia. Ekwa nia nehia wewin. Ekwa sakitu win. Ekwa wakutu win. It means our way forward is with me, 'cause I am love. And I am respect. And I am kindness. Ginanan skumtinin. Thank you.
Give it up for ecoaborijanelle. If you are interested in scoring and you care about that stuff, you can go to versuslivescores.ca in between poets. Okay? Check out online. Big love to Daria, our online scorekeeper. Big love, big love. Judges, 3, 2, 1. Up with those scores, please. I see 5. Here we go. We've got a 9.9. We've got a 9.9. We've got a 9.4, a 9.5, and a 9.3. Give it up for the poetry. Marz, you are on deck. Give it up for Asaya. Oh, 1 second, Asaya. Hold on. Time out. I missed that. I apologize. Is there a time penalty? There's a time penalty. What is the time? 3:41. 3:31. 3:31. Thank you for letting us know. Thank you. It was well worth it. Give it up for Asaya!
People are easy to hurt. I forget that sometimes it's not hard to break a person's back in half, to shatter their cheekbones, crack their collarbone until they can't laugh or breathe. People are easy to burn. I forget that sometimes you don't need a gallon of gasoline to light their clothes on fire, make them dance or scream or both. I've watched people hate until they had nothing left to love, until they were burnt matchsticks, until they were empty lighters. I've watched my brother become a sun, watched him burn so bright and so strong. It was hard to call him a star, to call him human, to see that he breaks easy. I've seen what a broken back can do to a man, how it can make him feel as if he is incompetent or incomplete, how it can make him feel as if he cannot laugh or breathe. I've seen my brother's back break in half, snap, like it was someone else's wishbone, like his spine was already hollow and empty. I've watched him lose and lose and lose and lose and sit at my mother's feet, and I've watched him weep. I've watched him turn his hands into hot coals. I've watched him burn the people closest to him, and I'm wondering, how do you keep a man from turning his own self into a torch when he is burning up inside? That's the thing with my brother. Even after his heart has been scraped clean, his house stolen empty, his mind driven crazy, he still apologizes for things that do not matter. He still apologizes to people that do not care, and maybe he's the reason I forget that people are easy to hurt, because he's been through wildfires, hit by lightning, surrounded by wolves and flames. All his life, he's had his heart broken over and over. He's held a matchstick to his own clothes, lit himself on fire over and over. My brother is the sun in my family. He's the candle that burns or lights the way, and for so long I was so mad at him because he was always the sun in someone else's sky, the savior in someone else's story. It's hard to watch someone you love break their own back in half for people who really don't deserve them. My brother laughs easy and breathes easier. My whole life, I've heard him take deep breaths as if he was going to sigh or gasp or both, and then just hold it in and walk away. My brother burns and lights at the same time. I'm starting to realize that you're not supposed to stare straight at the sun. It will blind you every time.
Asaya. Thank you, Asaya. Judges, let's see what you're thinking. 3, 2, 1. Let us see those scores. Let me see those scores. We have an 8.8. We also have a 9.7, a 9.4, a 9.5, and another 9.5. Round of applause for your poet, please. Nisha, you're on deck, but right now, let us welcome Marz to the stage, all the way to the stage. Welcome, Marz. Here comes Marz. Keep it going. Come on, they're not here yet.
Today, the turbulence was forecasted. Bad, but still the aircraft landed. Sunlight glinted off its silver wings. Raindrops raced in horizontal lanes. The plane too fast for gravity to drag them down. The seatbelt signs turned on. Ding, off, ding, on. Lit up like a small growth. Appointments every month. Monitors, watching, benign. There's nothing wrong, except it's bad. And Lola doesn't understand. Her chest hurts and the doctors try to tell her what's wrong, but the words converge like plates that shift and shatter. Her tongue, unaccustomed to CT scans and biopsies. Lolo does his best to translate. His tongue and archipelago stretch 12,063 kilometers between the hospital and home. A node in Lola's lung, growing, benign, first time visiting Winnipeg in 6 years, might be the last. In December, she turns 75, and it's supposed to be a surprise. Nothing fancy, maybe a hall full of my titos and titas, related not by blood, but by their swim across the Pacific, their survival through the ring of fire. Find their lives are slip-strike fault lines between paydays and past due dates. Unpredicted turbulence, lack of seatbelts and safety cards. Nothing to worry about. It's benign. Lola loves the color purple. Ube tongue hits all 6 of her mixed grandchildren, first time in 6 years. Bukas, open her chest. Open the light. Open her chest. Gently. My Lola is turning 75 in December, might be the last. Blue Christmas viewed through an airplane window, next to a railroad, smooth jazz radio hushed by snow. Lolo's car, a dormant volcano. High pressure system chasing a low, cumulus clouds like piles of bones. Watching, malignant X-rays mark the spot where the surgeon will cut into her chest, into her lungs. No reason to panic, please. Remain seated while the seatbelt sign is on. No smoking in the cabin, no fucking in the lavatory. The plane is about to fall 10,000 feet to the meandering river below. Oxbow scars where it once flowed. Water finding water. Taking the easiest path home.
Give it up for Marz. Judges, raise your scores. 3, 2, 1. Up with those scores. Thank you. All right. These scores are bananas. No, they're not. They're fantastic and consistent, so thank you for being awesome. We've got a 9.1, a 9.3, a 9.4, a 9.0, and a 9.0. Give it up for the poetry. All right. Okay, Kassirer, you're on deck right now. Big love for Nisha Patel.
Nine things I want to say to Elizabeth Gilbert, author of popular novel-turned-movie Eat, Pray, Love, in which a white woman discovers herself in Asia. Number 9, your salvation is an expensive plane ticket, a cheap meal baptized in bottled water made by women whose backs have hardened into iron spines after years of turning themselves over open flames. You say that you've never tasted flesh, but I highly doubt it. Number 8, when I go back to India, I do not go outside. I do not go swimming. I do not go to the beach. At the bazaar, I cling to the arm of my father. On the motorcycle, I close my eyes. I am lonely instead of solitary, and I cannot stand the smell. Number 7, when my father goes back to India, he litters on the streets like a local. Number 6, when I go back to India, I salt my tongue in the forgotten Gujarati, for I am not getting married. Nothing in this country tastes like love. Number 5, when my eldest brother goes back to India, he meets his bride 3 weeks before the wedding. She speaks English. Her entire life changes in the span of a month. While I lounge on string cots eating mangoes, I do not know what leaves a worst aftertaste in my mouth. Number 4, the boy calls me exotic, trails his fingers on my flesh like I am a living tiger skin rug, toes sinking into my soft, securing his footing. I do not tell him what it feels like to be hunted, to be coveted by someone, to be sometimes beautiful, and other times I know what it's like to be shot in the back on a middle school playground, to have my hair pulled, it was only an accident, to be called dirty even after the coconut oil has settled into freshly washed hair. Number 3, when my mother goes back to India, she points out the dead strays that have laid their last breath onto dirt roads that no government wants to fix. She does not wrinkle her nose. Instead, she tells me to watch my step, lest the blood of an animal whose only mistake was being one too many mouths to feed soak into designer sneakers that have no place finding home in a city like this. Number 2, when I go back to India, I play dress up. Number 1, it must be nice to visit a country someone once crossed an ocean to pillage. It must be nice to visit a place so corrupt that women who look like me are beaten in their own homes, while women who look like you are treated like royalty. It must be nice to go to India and write a book on white paper. It must be nice that you saw a country with over 1 billion people and still only thought about yourself. It must be nice to return to a home where only ex-girlfriends and not heaving white boys are allowed to house it. It must be nice to be able to go back to your country.
Nisha Patel. Judges, you're doing a great job remaining consistent. Let's see what you think. 3, 2, 1. Let's see your scores, please. Up in the air. Let me see. We've got a 9.7, a 9.2, a 9.9, a 9.8, and another 9.7. Applaud your poet. Liana, you are on deck right now. Welcome, Kassirer, all the way to the stage. Here we go, your next poet, Kassirer.
My sexuality moonlights as mistress, dresses up as girl next door, cloaks itself in fantasy. My sexuality has an hourly rate, charges extra for choking, only has sex with people it does not love. My sexuality looks like crisp bills in candlelight, like envelopes full of 50s stuffed in underwear drawer, like pictures with my face blurred but my tits out. My sexuality smells like scented candles and stale semen, tastes like latex and lube, looks like anyone but myself. My sexuality hides behind lingerie and white wine, says no quietly, followed by thank you, followed by sorry. My sexuality tried to fit itself into a box, but now Schrodinger is not sure if it is alive anymore. My sexuality is fisting the system, is fucking the patriarchy, is forgetting last night ever happened. My sexuality looks like memories I can't erase, and money that doesn't feel like mine, and strangers and their fucking expectations. My sexuality knows what it looks like. Wants a tattoo whore on its inner lips. When you spit that word at it, we'll both know it was in its mouth first. My sexuality wears dyke, like a tattoo it sometimes lies about the meaning of, but regardless, it is always on my skin. My sexuality gets shy when trying new things, expects others to expect it to be experienced. My sexuality is experienced, and by that I mean often experiences its body not feeling like its own. My sexuality had forgotten the direction of home, but then found love, bright as North Star, found comfort in the crook of their arms, found partners who hold me after a long day at work, don't judge me when I show them where it hurts. My sexuality used to be strictly a performance. Costume put on for the show, outfit taken off when curtain closed. My sexuality is reinventing its boundaries, relearning its confidence, remembering a time before it only existed as a mirror reflecting someone else's desires. My sexuality says no, without saying thank you, without saying sorry.
Give it up for Kassirer. Judges, you ain't sorry. You're doing a great job. 3, 2, 1, up with those scores. Okay, we've got a 9.3, a 9.6, 9.4, 9.9, and a 9.0. Give it up for the poetry. Fauzia, you're on deck right now. Keep those hands clapping for Liana!
My grandmother is tiny and old and Italian, and she knows just enough English to ask me, so, you have boyfriend? The Italian word for boyfriend is the same as the Italian word for fiancé. And so the best way for my grandmother to strike out in the dark along a linguistic path littered with landmines is to use English words that are as unfamiliar to her as the concept of being with someone, even when you have no intention of marrying them. Every time my grandmother and I have a conversation about u boyfriend, I know that each of us will be reminded of just how many things we don't understand. We are as close as two people can be when they are part of one family that's split between two different worlds, like two different types of pasta sauce, like members of two different generations. My grandmother doesn't understand why I can't just do things the way she did and the way her mother did and the way my mother did, as if we were all objects on an assembly line instead of items crafted by hand. When I say to my grandmother that I have something important to tell her, she asks me if I'm pregnant. When I tell her that I'm queer, when I tell her about men and women and people and all the love I have to give, she says that she would have preferred it if I'd been pregnant. When I tell my grandmother that I'm dating someone small, gorgeous, female, vegan, and Jewish, she groans like she can see the faraway specter of her healthy, bilingual, Catholic great-grandchildren rapidly disappearing into nothingness. My grandmother doesn't see the simple elegance of my own devastation when she says, "Wouldn't it be better for each of you if you had a man instead of one another? Wouldn't it be better for this girl if she had a man, a real man, instead of having you?" And the words in my mouth are like stones in my pockets when I say neither one of us wants a real man. If we have chosen one another over every other man, woman, person, haven't we already proved that each of us is enough? Doesn't that mean that I am enough, just as I am? My grandmother has always made me feel like I will always be more than enough. It's only when we broach the topic of the boyfriend that I start to believe that maybe there are exceptions. It's only when we discuss the concept of the boyfriend that I understand that I will have to pick and choose which of my grandmother's words and thoughts and actions I will allow to affect me, because the alternative is to be fractured and splintered by her opinion on something she can't and doesn't and will never understand. My grandmother has told me that she loves me, always, forever, without exception, with or without a boyfriend. And that deadly distinction between you are not enough and I love you anyway is a twisted and double-edged reassurance that I would not accept from anybody else. But my grandmother is tiny and old and Italian, and she loves me and she is mine. And this is all that matters. That love is all that matters. That love is a bridge that can be crossed even in translation. That love is what I pick and choose to remember because I must, even in the face of so much that still hurts and so much that I still don't understand.
Thank you, Liana. Judges, wonderful job so far. Stick to your guns. Don't be swayed by the mob. 3, 2, 1. Let's see your scores, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a 9.5. We have an 8.7. We have a 9.5. A 9.6. And a 9.9. Applaud your poet. We are good for time. Q, you're on deck. Please welcome Fauzia to the stage, all the way to the stage. Here they come. Make some noise for your next poet.
My name is Fauzia A Agbonhin. The words of the alphabet string together like mismatched keys in a piano that somehow still manage to form a beautiful melody. The underlying meaning between these letters and musical notes form the entire foundation of my being, and they spell out Fauzia A Agbonhin. It is the name I was born with. Fauzia is the all-encompassing six-letter word that defined me before I had a definition, before my actions were even witnessed. My name went past any sort of vision I had in mind for myself. Being victorious became my mission, my vision of myself, because that's the definition of Fauzia. Victorious no matter what. I wonder how my parents gave me the blessing of never faltering pride before I was even born, or how they knew that I hold my head high even when others made me feel so low, or how feeling low made me stand on my tippy toes to give myself the extra height. My name is Fauzia A Agbonhin. But at some point in time, I wanted to be called Ashley because the Rileys and Kyleys laughed when I brought a funny-looking instrument into their symphony. They couldn't pronounce a word that isn't easily mispronounceable. They didn't understand something that isn't inherently misunderstandable. It is not hard to say, and yet no one could say my name, so they gave me another one, a one-syllable word, Faz. Some would call me Zia because it's easier than Fauzia. My name is Fauzia A Agbonhin. Not Faz, not Zia, not the stuttering from your lips when you mispronounce a three-syllable word, and it's not me allowing you to call me an even shorter version of my already short name. I'll not allow you to claim that because your lips don't bend the way I need them to. When you pronounce my name, you should be given a free pass. Call me whatever you proclaim fit. You are not my mother or my father. Don't try to string a series of letters together and call it my name. Don't try to give me a set of mismatched musical notes and ask me to play it for you. There's culture and history behind the word Fauzia, and I'll not allow you to erase or degrade me without my permission by calling me Faz or Zia. I'll not allow a symphony of Rileys and Brooks, Johns and Adams to make me feel like mine won't be heard if I don't belt it out loud, or to make me feel like I shouldn't be proud of where I come from. Because when they tell us Shmita that she's short name down to Sushi or to Sanya, that the only letter of her name you can remember is T, you are taking away a piece of them simply because you can't possibly understand it. And it's not what Europeans did to the natives. It's not people did to slaves. You're telling them they don't belong in a symphony simply because they shine too brightly, simply because they're too unique and their sound blares too loudly. Let me enlighten you on something. Uniqueness should not frighten you. It should ignite a spark in you. It should untighten the screws on your instruments because imagination should not be restricted to your instruments. My name is Fauzia A Agbonhin, and if you're trouble pronouncing it, you have not said it enough times. If you aren't at least trying to make your lips bend the way I need them to, you haven't been listening to my rhymes, you're probably playing a melody that has no rhythm or dynamic. Songs you listen to are static. Letters of the alphabet are strung together, they make a melody, you can't understand it because you don't want to. And that's why your symphonies will never be any less repetitive, or unimaginative, or uneventful than you.
Thank you, Fauzia. Judges, get your names right like you get the scores right. 3, 2, 1, up with those scores. We have an 8.7. We have an 8.5. We've got a 9.1, a 9.3, and a 9.9. Give it up for the poetry. Deirdre Lee, you're on deck right now. Give it up for Q, all the way to the stage.
There are few tasks as loathed as that of packing lunch. Eyes half closed, barely dressed, knowing you definitely did not brush for a full 2 minutes, trying to match orphan Tupperware, staring desperately into the fridge for some kind of godsend. Pizza or pasta, something that can be hurriedly stuffed into a container and forgotten for 3 hours, horrified at the prospect of being driven to take something pungent or ethnic, which is another word for not white and unpalatable to the general public sensitivities, wondering whether it's better to go hungry than to hear someone's exclamations of "that smell" and realizing you've got no appetite anyways. You are what you eat. So what are you when your kebab sandwiches make stomachs turn and eyes narrow? No. Better to take something unassuming, because while all lunches are welcome, some are more welcome than others, and why do you need to draw that kind of attention to yourself anyways? Your thermos of dal isn't doing you any favors. Make yourself a hot dog or a bologna sandwich, something with Canadian values, or better yet, learn to do without. It just gets me that a white girl puts on a shalwar kameez and suddenly is festival wear. Please. When she wears it, she's alternative, daring, but when I do, I'm a fob who needs to learn some Canadian values, because a white girl wearing a sari made by brown hands is Canadian, while a brown girl doing the same is not. I can't go home, unzip my brown skin, step out of it, fold it neatly to tuck in some corner of my closet, or take it back within 30 days for a refund or exchange. This brown skin is a full body tattoo that never heals, that some people never stop staring at. White girl, put down the lenga. I know it hurts to be told that something isn't yours and that you can't have it, but if, after having everything, you can't let me have my mother's expression when she sees me wearing a kurta, or the thrill of defiance wearing something that's unprofessional because it's different, because it's brown, because it's mine, then what do I have to say to you? Why should brown clothes make room for white bodies when your white feminism doesn't make room for brown ones? Your yoga classes every other week don't qualify you to say namaste or to wear a bindi, cover your hands in mehndi, knowing that at least the brown is only temporary for you, that your skin will shed the color in time. You can wear anklets that don't become shackles, jewelry that don't become glass handcuffs. You can take all the pretty out of my brownness without having to deal with any of the ugly. So yes, my culture is not your prom dress. Maybe because your prom doesn't matter to me as much as centuries of trauma, the fact that I had to grow up with the smelly lunches. And yes, I see the irony of leaving an ex-colony to live in a colony, seeing the parts of me I was taught to be ashamed of become a commodity, but you can't make fun of the curry and still eat it. And maybe I'd prefer if you could just keep your hands off. So, if it's not too much to ask, to expect, dear white girl, show some respect.
That was Q. Thank you, Q. Judges, 3, 2, 1. Let us see your scores, please. We have a 9.5, another 9.5, an 8.6, a 9.2, and a 9.6. Applaud your poet. Thank you, Q. And please welcome to the stage, Deirdre Lee. Come on, make some noise. Your next poet, Deirdre Lee.
On January 27th, 2017, I went to a memorial for more than 1,000 lost siblings and felt myself shatter into at least 10 times that many tiny things. Felt my breath catch and get caught. I am no match for this loss and grief so profound, for this somehow simultaneously silent and yet thunderous sound of thousands of voices raised, each singing their sorrow and their story. Sorry, but never have I felt this kind of consciousness of the people around me, white folks predominantly in this gallery, at this university, in this municipality. When I first went out west to the prairies, it was nearly the undoing of me, surrounded as I was suddenly by a continuum of indigenous identity. Not that visibility is any guarantee of safety. Paradoxically, the opposite can be true, for me anyway. I don't know about you. I don't know if I know more now or less. I know I can't find the word. It's not sadness or stress, or it is. But that's like calling the Rockies a hill or the Pacific a puddle. And some people will, but those folks have never walked a path so red like life's blood. It pushes, my chest drums, and my head does its best to just float away. But I stare at my feet on this path and I stay in this room full of art. How can beauty hurt this much? When each stitch and stroke must have been the cause of such mourning, but perhaps healing too. And my heart beats one question: what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? As I try to commit to memory, each bead sown, each seed sown, each soul thrown out before they were done, in some cases before they had even begun. Someone please tell me what phrase rhymes best with "I am overcome with the urge to fall down, tear at my clothes, and scream." Should I just say how badly I want this all to be a bad dream, that I kind of want to go off grid and form some kind of vigilante justice team? How can I make jokes when emotions are still so fraught? How can I still be here, still breathing, when so many of us are not? Am I still here because I'm meant to use this loud voice, get up each day and make the deliberate choice not to shut up or put up or give in until each one of my indigenous relations can begin to know peace, truth, and health, abundance, safety, and wealth? Whatever it takes, everything is at stake. For all of us still here, for all those grieved everywhere. Un tierra, un pueblo. I speak these words. Creator, please hear my prayer.
Deirdre Lee, everyone. Judges, you're here, so let's see you do your job. 3, 2, 1, up with those scores. So we've got a 9.4, a 9.4, an 8.9, a 9.8, and a 9.5. Give it up for the poetry. I am not that short.
That's the end of the first round.
How was that, team?
Let's applaud all our poets. Come on.
So for those who are new, who don't know what's going on, you're like, what? My head's spinning, all these words happening. This year, for those who are really, really new, we had 32 of the best poets in the world come and compete willingly and voluntarily so. I don't know how you did it and why, but anyway. And I know why. Credibility. No, I'm kidding. For changing the world. And so what you just heard were the top 12. And I also want to give a quick shout out. The sacrificial poets tonight, who you'll be hearing, they just missed that cutoff to get into the finals. So big love to all the sacrificial poets. Yes? Awesome. Cool.